Did you know attracting and retaining top talent is a key factor in the success of any organisation? In today's competitive job market, companies must put in place effective and deliverable strategies for attracting the best candidates and keeping their current employees engaged and, most importantly, satisfied. To discuss these strategies, we recently caught up with Jennifer Davies, Sales and Marketing Director at Tazio, for a quick Q&A session. Hello, Jen. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello. How you doing, Jack?
Yes, I'm not too bad. Thank you very much. So we're here to talk today to you about some of the strategies that our audience can put in place for attracting and retaining the top quality talent in 2023.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I have for you is what is one of the most effective strategies for attracting and retaining these talent in 2023?
Okay, so I think it's pretty essential to have a really compelling and engaging company culture. So we're talking about how you're perceived by prospective candidates. You need to be seen as a kind of diverse and interesting employer who they can progress their career with, particularly when they're just starting out in the kind of workplace. So you need to be thinking about what sets you apart, competitive benefits, maybe unique salary packages and the way that they're structured, and then obviously a really clear career path for them moving forward as they come out into kind of working full-time within an organisation.
Yeah, that makes sense. So following on from that, how can these companies retain top talent rather than just bringing them in? Because once they've brought them in, keeping them then is even harder.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to recognise that just getting somebody to join your organisation is the first part. Kind of nurturing them once they become part of the organisation is equally important. So you want to think about how you're going to develop that individual, how you're going to develop their skills. Look at the key talents they already have and build upon them and support them to move forward. Because as well as developing them as an individual, you make them a much more useful asset to your organisation going forward. And also, engendering this idea that you are looking for them to work with a healthy work-life balance. So you want them to be a long-term employee. You don't want them to come in, work themselves so hard that they kind of crash and burn within the kind of year or so. So from the get-go, you instill this idea that, life is work, but there's also, there is your outside sort of time that is really, really important to you to look after yourself and look after your general well-being.
Yeah, and I think this follows in quite nicely to our next question about company culture. So how can businesses these days build a strong company culture to help attract all this top talent?
I think it's quite key as an organisation to decide what is your mission, what are your values, what's really important to you, and that then will flow through into your employees. They will have an understanding of what your goals are and how you want to operate as an organisation overall. And part of that is about having some really nice, clear communication with candidates and obviously with employees on an ongoing basis. That kind of open dialogue is really, really critical to fostering a nice kind of long-term relationship where the employee or the candidate feels that they are part of the process, part of the decision making. If you kind of make things quite difficult for them to understand where you're going as an organisation, that's not really going to translate well for an employee. They eventually become disengaged. So transparency and clear communication are really, really key.
Yeah, it sounds like in order to build this culture, that your employees and your prospective employees really need to buy into your values and your mission and where the business is really going and what it's trying to achieve. But ultimately, there also needs to be some sort of benefits from their perspective. So are there any creative sort of benefits that companies can offer in order to retain employees?
Yeah, so I think it's always important to have some sort of added value, really, alongside the kind of core of here is, some kind of financial reward for the task that you're doing for us. But not only that, you might want to help them with their professional skills development. So that might be going through some formal training or some in-house training that will push them along in terms of their career goals and their, as I say, their professional development. So additional qualifications or training schemes that they could be part of. But then you're sort of thinking about more imaginative perks along the lines that tap into that well-being kind of element that we've been discussing. So that might be things around hybrid working patterns, so a mixture of remote and office-based working. Maybe even thinking about what perks there are to coming into the office, what makes it a nice experience. So that environment as well, considering that holistically, have you got a gym on site? Have you got some food services on site or maybe some food pop-ups that are really, really nice and are going to appeal to everybody and make it a point or a meeting place where your employees want to be every day, and not just think, oh no, I have to go to the office again, I want to go and work from home instead.
Yeah, for sure. I think next to really aligning with the business and what it means to be a part of that business, the benefits packages for employees are second to none in terms of their willingness to work and their drive to see the business be successful.
Yeah,
because once they've got all these benefits coming in and say, oh, this company really values me and they really value what I provide to the business, I think other than salary, those benefits are critical to employee happiness and the overall engagement in the business, really.
Yeah, and don't forget, your employees are effectively your brand ambassadors. So they're out there every day communicating with your customers about what kind of an organization you are. So if they feel that they are really empowered in kind of how they're involved, how they're engaged in your business, that they really understand what it is motivating you as an organization, and they feel really content in the kind of workspace that they operate in, then that's got to be a great thing overall for you long term in terms of growth of your business and kind of encouraging and attracting new customers to work with you.
Yeah, definitely. I certainly agree with that. So the last question we have for you today is something that's very popular in the world of HR at the moment, and that's diversity and inclusion. So how can businesses in 2023 really promote the diversity and inclusivity in their workplaces?
So, I think it starts again with recruitment. So in terms of your recruitment processes, you need to consider, how open, how accessible are your recruitment processes. So having some kind of method of online assessment instantly opens up new doors for a lot of potential candidates who maybe geographically or physically or whatever, for whatever reason, would not consider applying for a role. I think if you can eliminate as many barriers as possible as an employer, that's got to be a positive step forward. Within your organization then, if you can make it that you have a clear and level playing field for everybody, regardless of their background, ethnicity or experience, then you're on a really good starting point to encouraging individuals to really feel like they can progress within your organization and that they can be a contributing and a positive sort of part of the business going forward. And they can kind of see it as a place where they can grow as an individual. I think that's really critical, and that they are going to get that management support across the board, whatever they kind of do or wherever they go within the organization. I think as well, engaging employees in that process. So perhaps put together resource groups so employees can kind of initiate ideas and solutions for sort of problems that organizations might face when it comes to kind of increasing diversity and inclusion. Having that sort of dialogue at the beginning will give you great engagement from your employee, from your workforce across the board, so they feel like you are listening to them and listening to the feedback that they're giving you. I think that's critical. I think we talked about it earlier, that having an open dialogue, whether that's with a potential candidate or an existing employee, is really, really key to making them feel like happy, contented, wanted, and that they are valued as a part of your organization.
Yeah, all great points. I'm learning a lot more about diversity and inclusion just by being a part of Tazio and being part of the HR world and the HR ecosystem. So I could see it's something that's growing tremendously, and the focus on it is just becoming even bigger and by the day, really. So yeah, I think it's critical in 2023 that employers can really nail the diversity and inclusion aspects of their recruitment strategies.
I think perhaps what's key there is, from an employer point of view, is not just seeing it as a tick box that they need to kind of cover off, but actually looking at it throughout their entire organization, top to toe. As I say, from the very beginning of that recruitment process, through onboarding, through the entire life cycle of an employee, making that part of your consideration and involving your candidates and employees every step of the way in that process.
Yeah, certainly. Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. So I'd like to thank you very much for sitting with me today and answering some of the questions that we have for our audience. I'm sure there'll be many more Q&A sessions to come.
Discover the secret to hiring smarter with Tazio. Why not visit our website www.tazio.io or give our experts a call on 02922 331 888.